Welcome again to Justice Matters. I am Denise George, Attorney General of the U.S. Virgin Islands. Justice Matters is a program aimed to inform, engage, and empower you with knowledge of Virgin Islands laws that affect our everyday lives and our community. We'll have insightful discussions with special guests on the laws and related topics so you can be empowered to make a difference in our community. Today's topic is part 2, the second half of Crime and Corruption, where we focus on some surprising facts about the Department of Justice's Medicaid Fraud Control Unit and its mission to combat Medicaid fraud, along with the Department of Human Services Integrity Unit. Special guests today are the Director of MFCU, as we call it, and the Human Services Commissioner. First of all, there are well over 32,000 Virgin Islanders that are beneficiaries of Medicaid in the Virgin Islands. Medicaid is a health insurance program providing assistance for our men, women, and children at low income levels who are not able to afford health insurance. That is over a third of our population, based on the latest census at least. The function of the Medicaid Fraud Control Unit, or MFCU, as we call it, is to investigate and prosecute Medicaid health provider fraud and public corruption by employees within the Medicaid program housed in the Department of Human Services. The United States Department of Human Services Office of the Inspector General is the designated federal oversight agency of the MFCUs and approves funding through an annual recertification process. The Virgin Islands MFCU was established within the Attorney General's office in 2018 and is one of 53 MFCUs in the United States, including all 50 states and DC and Puerto Rico. Our MFCU is 100% federally funded. The Federal Social Security Act requires each state and the Virgin Islands to operate a MFCU. You'll learn why later. But before we get to that, let's take a look at our local laws. Title 34 VIC Section 682 of our code says, there is established within the Office of the Attorney General the Medicaid Fraud Control Unit. The Department of Human Services or its fiscal agents shall refer all cases of suspected Medicaid fraud to the Medicaid Fraud Control Unit for the purpose of investigation, civil action, or criminal action. It also says that nothing contained in the law shall prohibit the Department of Human Services from investigating or additionally referring to other proper law enforcement agencies cases of suspected Medicaid fraud, nor does it preclude the Attorney General from pursuing cases of suspected Medicaid fraud without a referral from the Department of Human Services if there's credible evidence of such fraud. So how do our laws define Medicaid fraud, and what are some of the examples of Medicaid fraud under local law? In summary, our law states it is unlawful for any provider willfully and knowingly to make or cause to be made a claim, statement, or representation for use by another in obtaining goods or services under the Virgin Islands Medicaid program, knowing the claim, statement, or representation to be false in whole or in part, whether by commission or omission. It is also unlawful to make or cause to be made a statement or representation for use in qualifying as a provider of goods or services under the Virgin Islands Medicaid program, knowing the statement or representation to be false in whole or in part, whether by commission or omission. Also unlawful to charge any recipient or provider acting on behalf of a recipient money or other consideration in addition to or in excess of rates or remuneration established under the Virgin Islands Medicaid program. And also unlawful to solicit or accept a benefit, pecuniary benefit, or kickback in connection with goods or services paid for or claimed by a provider to be payable by the Virgin Islands Medicaid program. Any provider committing these or any other actions where the amount involved is less than $100 is guilty of a misdemeanor, and if above $100 is guilty of a felony and will be required to pay full restitution to the Virgin Islands Department of Human Services of all funds or payments received in violation of the law. And as for persons, including employees, Virgin Islands law says it is unlawful for a person to obtain or attempt to obtain or aid, abet, or assist any individual to obtain assistance to which an applicant is not entitled, or assistance greater than that to which an applicant is justly entitled by means of a false statement or representation, or by false impersonation, or by a fictitious transfer, conveyance, or encumbrance of property or income, or by a knowing and willful failure to report to the Virgin Islands Department of Human Services income, personal property, real property, household members, or other material eligibility factors at the time of the application or during the receipt of assistance, or by other fraudulent device. Persons convicted of any of these offenses can be fined or imprisoned for a number of years, according to the offense for which they are found guilty. If the amount of assistance wrongfully paid on behalf of the individual or individuals is less than $5,000, the offense upon conviction shall be a misdemeanor punishable by a fine of up to $500 or imprisonment for up to 3 months, or both a fine and imprisonment. If greater than $5,000, the offense upon conviction shall be a felony punishable by a fine of up to $5,000 or imprisonment of not more than 5 years, or both. Additionally, a court may deny future Medicaid benefits to the perpetrator. Most mafukus throughout the United States are housed within the Attorney General's offices that are committed and required to investigate and prosecute Medicaid provider fraud and program fraud. In Mafuku fiscal year 2020 annual report, it showed 774 fraud convictions and 928 individuals excluded from federally funded health programs due to fraud, and $173 million in criminal recoveries. Civil settlements and judgments were at 786, with $655 million in civil recoveries. Here with me today is attorney Julita DeLeon, the director of the Virgin Islands Mafuku within the Office of the Attorney General. Thank you. What's the reason behind the Mafukus all over the country?
In 1965, when Congress created the Medicaid program, it provided no control for fraud or criminal activities. So there was, for 10 or 15 years of the program, Medicaid program, the program was just rife with corruption. Oh. And the corruption was life-threatening in the sense that and it still happens today, but to some extent less than, where providers would endanger persons' lives. So Congress created Mafukus to act as the enforcement, to provide enforcement for Medicaid. So so what you'll see in every jurisdiction with a Medicaid program, which is all 50 states, there is a Mafuku, and it is the Mafuku that goes after corruption, that in the program that goes after provider fraud.
Can you explain just describe briefly what is the Medicaid Fraud Control Unit and its role within the Department of Justice Attorney General's office?
Both territorial and federal law requires that the Mafuku and the Program Integrity Unit of the Department of Human Services work together to investigate fraud in the program. In the case of the Mafuku investigate provider fraud and program administration fraud.
So when you say program administration fraud, then what do you mean? Is that by the administration, the persons or the employees within the Department of Human Services?
Yes, program administration fraud would be what the federal government would consider public corruption. It would be fraud created or employees of the program defrauding the program.
And then when you say provider fraud, that deals with what?
Provider fraud entails fraud committed by medical providers, your dentist, your general practitioner, your lab.
Why? Why is that so important with respect to the Medicaid Fraud Control Unit or Medicaid program?
It is important because it's number one, it's taxpayers' money. Number two, health insurance is one of the things that most people, in some cases, just can't do without, especially persons with chronic diseases. In our case, health insurance goes beyond the doctor's visit, in the sense that some of us have to travel outside of the territory to obtain medical attention.
And does Medicaid provide those services as well?
That is correct. It's not only about money. It's also about lives as well, saving lives. Because what you see sometimes even in Medicaid fraud, Medicaid administration fraud, persons that are entitled to life-saving medication or life-saving medication would not receive those medication if the employees of that program are siphoning off monies to give their friends, their families, their neighbors benefits from the program that they're not entitled to.
And you know, that's something that people sometimes don't think about. I mean, just the fact that, okay, it's a crime, it's wrong, you don't steal, period, whether it's from the government or not. But people a lot of times don't think about the fact that, especially with these kinds of programs, you're depriving somebody else who actually has the eligibility for it and actually has a need. So,
and in the case of Medicaid, it is one of those needs that are essential to life. Because picture, if you have a very sick child on island that you have to take off island for medical attention, and you're a Medicaid beneficiary, you rely on the program for your plane ticket, for your housing, for everything. So if the administration employees are defrauding the program, then there isn't enough money left for people that are really in need of that money, of that program, of that benefit, to actually access it for what it is intended for by both Congress and the Virgin Islands legislature.
What are the positions within the Mofuku?
The federal law requires that the program, Mofukus have a director, an investigator, an auditor, or an analyst. So all Mofukus would have the 3 positions or the 4 positions.
Let's see. And so we have how many positions here?
We have 4.
Okay, so we have 4. So would that make us pretty small compared to the other 52 Mofukus throughout the country?
We are one of the smallest. The New York Mofuku has 308 persons working.
And so when you talk about addressing these things, how does Mofuku address the public corruption, the provider fraud, or those types of matters?
We rely on the public or the program integrity unit of the Department of Human Services to make a referral.
Okay.
Once we receive a referral, we investigate the matter, and if it appears that there is a credible allegation of fraud, then we open a criminal investigation.
Okay, and then after that, what?
And then after that, once we've investigated it, we work in partnership with the Department of Justice Criminal Division and make the referral to the Criminal Division.
Okay, you're talking about for prosecution.
For prosecution.
So basically, Mofuku does the investigation, and if it turns out, then that it
It
is
is, right.
something that can rise to a criminal matter, you then refer it for prosecution right here, right?
That is correct.
What would you say to a person who does suspect that there's something going on or some kind of wrongdoing going on within the program or with a provider?
They can call us at this number, 888-404-6328, and just say, I suspect that A, B, and C is happening. It's as easy as that.
Mm-hmm.
As long as we have enough information to investigate, we will.
Mm-hmm.
It may not mean that we have jurisdiction, but we'll do a preliminary investigation.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so tell me more about the relationship between MFCU and the Department of Human Services Integrity Unit.
The relationship is outlined in statute, and we're required to enter into a memorandum of understanding. We're required to meet regularly. They're required to make all referrals to us for investigation and subsequent prosecution if need be. We're trained together. The MFCU is required to make recommendation to the Human Services Medicaid program as to how to improve the program. And we do have a healthy relationship with them. We trained with them. For the past 2 years, we've trained with them. And this year should be no different.
Okay, so it's a continuing partnership then.
That is correct.
For both Human Services and
That
the
is
Attorney General's
correct.
Office.
The Program Integrity Unit and the MFCU serve as the cornerstone of Medicaid fraud.
That's good that it's a partnership in making sure to assure integrity in our government programs, which is so important. Thank you so much, Attorney Julita DeLeon, Director of the Virgin Islands Department of Justice Medicaid Fraud Control Unit, our MFCU. Joining me now from the other side of our partnership in combating public corruption in the Medicaid program is the Commissioner of the Department of Human Services, Kimberley Causey Gomez, to shed some light on this from the Department of Human Services Integrity Unit perspective. Welcome to Justice Matters.
Well, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
I want to know tell us about the Medicaid program under DHS. Who does it serve?
So Medicaid, so Department of Human Services is the Medicaid state agency. So we're the designated state agency for Medicaid. And it's a health insurance program for those that have low income. And we serve probably almost 35,000 Virgin Islanders.
In the territory?
In the territory.
Okay, and what do you serve them with? What is the service that
The service is health insurance. So if you need something like doctor's visits or something and you can't afford health insurance, this is what you do. So it's really based on your income eligibility.
Are there services like somebody has to go, you have to be airlifted somewhere?
Yes, we do all of that. And so if you go to the hospital and you need services, or it could be cancer treatments, it could be surgery, if you're eligible for those and you get a doctor referral, then we're there for you.
Where does the money come from?
It's a combined effort. So there is a local match required for a lot of it, but it's federal funding.
Mainly federal funding?
Mainly federal funding.
What is it that Human Services does with respect to eligibility?
So that it's threefold. So we have members, right? So if you are a person or a constituent that needs health insurance, so you'll come and you'll apply to become a member of Medicaid or have that health insurance. You could also be a provider. So if you're a health provider, you provide a certain service, so you can be Medicaid eligible. And so those are the two things. Yeah, so you have a member, you have that. Hospitals can be providers as well. Doctors, physicians, all of those are provider of that.
So they get paid through Medicaid for their patients.
Correct. And they can bill for Medicaid, yes.
And you have, within the Department of Human Services, is there a division that deals with eligibility?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
and what is
and
that
provider
called?
relations. So eligibility.
Oh, okay.
It's pretty simple. Eligibility. So if you're eligible for the service, you're eligible. And we have provider relations unit as well. So you have to be certified as a provider to provide Medicaid services.
There's an integrity section of Department of Human Services, particularly regarding the Medicaid program.
Of course.
What is the importance of that, first of all?
So the integrity portion of is that if your tax dollars are paying for this particular health insurance for people that are low income, you want to ensure that all of the dollars are going for the purpose that it goes to. So in the event that somebody has fraud, waste, or abuse, then we think you talked about that a little bit earlier in the show, if anybody does that, whether it be the provider or an employee and or a member, if you do that, then that really takes the program out of context because you're taking actual health insurance or health services out of the people that really need it. And so it's just not tolerated. So that integrity unit helps to protect not only the members that are receiving the services, but also to help make sure that we are doing it properly when it comes to the Medicaid program.
And that integrity unit is actually directly connected to the Medicaid Fraud Control Unit here at the Attorney General's office.
Well, we have to work in connection.
Right. And how so?
So we refer. If we suspect that there is fraud, waste, or abuse, whether it be an employee, whether it be a member or a provider, then we refer that information to the MFCU unit, and then you do the investigation. You do all the hard work. You do all the hard work.
Actually, well, we both do. But why is it so important that we maintain this kind of integrity? Why is it important even that we bother with a Medicaid Fraud Control Unit or an integrity?
Well, if we don't, I think I look at it from this perspective. If federal money is coming into the territory for a purpose, and then we don't utilize it for that purpose, then that is actually fraudulent. And so then we could actually be a high risk status, and we could get defunded. And so I look at it from the perspective of if 35,000 people in the Virgin Islands are eligible for Medicaid, that then could affect the 35,000 people that are eligible. So if we don't have a really systemic healthcare system within the territory, a lot of people go off island for services. Then now all those people, where are they going to go to get their services?
So would you say that the integrity, or let's say lack of integrity, or lack of proper management, how does that affect our possibility of getting more funds or maintaining the funding? Does it?
Well, it would. I mean, because CMS, they're not going to tolerate it. And so they would either put us in high risk status or defund us, or maybe they lower the amount that we're able to get in order for us to provide those same health and services.
Let's talk about fraud or instances of that within the Department of Human Services by employees, with in-house employees. What can happen as a result of that?
So as an employee, it is you're supposed to do your best. You maintain your integrity when you're gathering information. So if I'm interviewing someone and they bring in all of their documents, making sure that they are correct. Are you a citizen? You know, let me look at your eligibility, your income. Let me see, look at everything that you're supposed to do. You're presenting as a member all of the information, and I'm certifying it. At any point in time, I then take the information you've given me, or not take all of it, and then make you eligible for a service that you're really not eligible for, then that employee should be held accountable.
In doing so, is the integrity unit connected to that at all? What happens?
Well, it's kind of a separate unit. It has to be outside the Medicaid program because it really is a separate entity, because you shouldn't have the same employees with the integrity unit. So it is a separate program. So a director of program integrity, and we do have a couple positions coming up, just so you know, to ensure that that unit is fully staffed, to ensure that we're doing everything we need to.
What do you say with respect to, let's say, persons who say, well, so what? It's only money. Or, you know, so what? It's millions and millions of federal dollars. So what? You know, why do we have to be so particular about someone getting something and, you know, they hundreds of dollars and they're not qualified? Why?
Well, and I'm going to do analogies. So my dad was a banker. And so he had tellers that worked in the bank. Remember when you go through the tellers? And my dad always said that if you're 1 cent over or 1 cent under, so if you're 1 cent under and you put the 1 penny in, then you're still not doing it correct because it didn't balance correctly. If you're 1 over and you took the penny out, you're still not making it correct. So either way, you're still not doing what you need to be doing as that. So as an employee, you're making sure that you're doing this. What will happen is your aunt needs surgery and she can't afford it because she has very low income. She's just on Social Security, and she needs a surgery to ensure that her life is going to depend on the surgery. She's not eligible now because we don't have that service because somebody defrauded the government. And I just think that if we don't look at it in perspective of we're all affected, and so the healthcare of our Virgin Islands is really important. And health insurance should be, I also think it should be free because I think everybody should have all access to health care. But in the event that you can't, this is something that helps with it when you need it the most.
And what would you say with respect to, you know, integrity, fraud, integrity, you know, crimes within a system like that and how it impacts the community. What would you say about that?
So I think for me is you're really, whenever you take something that's not yours, it affects people down the line. And so employees, or if you're a member and you bring in a check stub that's really not yours, or you add a member that doesn't really live in your household, those are things that you shouldn't be doing, even though you think that it's okay. Eventually, it's going to catch up to you because of the MFCU unit, because of the way that the federal government is. There's a way of tracking these things, and the red flags come up. And so we want to make sure that we're maintaining the integrity of the unit and make sure that everyone is eligible for the access of services that they should deserve if you're eligible for the program.
And how committed are you with respect to weeding out corruption, let's say, and if it exists? And I'm not going to talk about any pending cases because everyone is innocent until proven guilty. I got to make that very clear.
I have no tolerance for the defraud of any type of government funding. We work really hard to get the funding for the territory in the first place. So Medicaid is only one federal program out of an array of services that we offer. And so that could also affect other federal funding that are coming into the territory, not just within DHS. So if you're looking at child care subsidies, you're looking at SNAP or PBT or TANF, cash assistance program. We also have energy assistance and water assistance for pharmaceutical assistance for seniors. So if we start doing it for one program and it's allowable for one program, it will affect all of our federal programs. And so that'll just be one little, like a snowball effect. And we don't want that for the territory.
And isn't with the Medicaid Fraud Control Unit, wasn't that a requirement to have as a condition of getting
additional funding? Yes.
For Medicaid.
And so we went to testify to ensure that that was a unit that was created under Department of Justice that works with the Department of Human Services in the event that needed. I would like the fact that I wish that you weren't busy. I really wish that you weren't busy. I honestly wish that our employees did what they were supposed to do, our members told the truth, and our providers did not overcharge or undercharge or do any type of fraud, waste, or abuse. That would make it a lot easier for everyone.
And then in closing with that, fraud, waste, or abuse. Sometimes it's fraud, sometimes it's waste or abuse, and not necessarily a crime, but nevertheless, all of it together is definitely results in an impact that we don't want to see.
Correct.
That's what we're saying. Well, good. Thank you so much for joining us again.
It's my pleasure.
Causey Gomez. That concludes the second half of our topic on crime and corruption. One takeaway from this is that public corruption is not a victimless crime. The consequences are far-reaching and can negatively impact the entire community. And you could take action. If you suspect or have information about wrongdoing in the Medicaid program at MFCU, at 1-888-404-6328, which is their hotline. Also, the general corruption number for the Inspector General's office is 340-774-3388. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Justice Matters. Until next time, please stay safe and stay well.